And we're live from the living room as Doug eyes up the match day spread. He's reaching for the buffalo wing. Perfect! Hang on, what's this? Oh, he's gone for a can of Pepsi too! Incredible! What a finish! Sensational combination! Look at the delight on his face. There's no doubt about it. It just tastes better. Match days deserve Pepsi. Food deserves Pepsi. Grab a pack of Pepsi Zero Sugar for today's match. It's poetry in motion.
Choice Hotels get you more of what you value. Here's a little tune to help you remember. Same drive, different day. Don't you wish you were getting away? Pack your bags and come on through. Texas, Ohio, Alaska, we're up there too. Comfort Inn, it's calling your name. Save on the stay. Oh, and free waffles are yours to claim. Well, I hope you like my little song. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
Welcome back, True Crime Army. I am your host, Margot, and this is Military Murder. Today, I am continuing with my headline series this summer, and I'm starting with a non-murder, non-death, non-criminal case. It's actually more of a shocking/miracle story, but I do have a very heavy episode after that, so stay tuned. Just as a reminder, the defendant in every case that I discuss without resolution is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, and anything that I say is simply an allegation at this point. Thank you again for tuning in, and with that, join me as I bring you a new headline segment. Now, let's dig in.
Military murder is an independent project and is not endorsed by the Department of Defense or any military component. The views expressed are those of the host. The content of this podcast is not meant to be legal or medical advice. Warning, this episode contains graphic details of murder and is not suitable for young listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Houston police say a middle-aged man opened fire on a group of kids ding-dong ditching late Saturday night. An 11-year-old boy was shot in the back and died Sunday afternoon.
Newly released court documents detail the moments leading up to the death of 25-year-old Marine veteran Ivy Unruh. Michael.
Police say the man reported missing last month was killed at this Lakewood apartment, and his remains were apparently dumped on the other side of Joint Base Lewis McChord.
The 911 call coming in around 9:30 Sunday night from a teenager now charged with murder and attempted murder of his parents.
Now, I have a question for everyone. How many of you love air shows? Me, I love them, but sometimes thinking about what would happen if there's a crash during an air show always gives me pause. And I don't like being a negative Nancy, even though I do have a true crime podcast. So I don't think about air show crashes until one actually happens. Well, on Sunday, May 17th, 2026, thousands of spectators gathered at Mountain Home Air Force Base in Idaho for the return of the Gunfighter Skies Air Show, the installation's first air show in 8 years. Families lined the flight line, children looked to the sky, and one of the featured performances was the U.S. Navy's EA-18G Growler demonstration team. But as everyone cranked their heads toward the sky, no one could have imagined what was about to happen. Just after 12:10 p.m., 2 U.S. Navy EA-18G Growlers assigned to the Electronic Attack Squadron 129, based at NAS Whidbey Station in Washington, were performing an aerial demonstration when they collided in midair approximately 2 miles northwest of the base. Each aircraft carried a pilot and an electronic warfare officer, meaning there were 4 aircrew members aboard the 2 jets. The collision was captured on multiple cell phone videos taken by stunned spectators. Now, the footage shows the 2 Growlers flying in close formation, almost, in my personal opinion, as if the 2 aircraft were doing the tango. Now, once they're seen doing the tango, all of a sudden, they make contact. For several terrifying seconds, the aircraft appear almost locked together in the air as they tumble through the sky. Then, one after another, 4 parachutes blossom overhead as every single crew member successfully ejects from their aircraft. Seconds later, both jets plunge to the ground and erupt into a massive fireball. Honestly, if you haven't seen the video, it's really difficult to appreciate just how miraculous the outcome really was. Watching those aircraft spiral toward the ground, it's almost impossible to believe anyone could have survived. Yet somehow, miraculously, I'll say again because, I'm a woman of faith, all 4 aviators managed to eject before impact. Emergency responders from Mountain Home Air Force Base, Elmore County, and the city of Mountain Home immediately rushed to the crash site. The aircraft came down near State Highway 167, forcing authorities to close the highway while firefighters extinguished the blaze and investigators secured the wreckage. The remainder of the air show was immediately canceled, and the installation was briefly placed on lockdown while emergency crews responded. The best news in this entire story is no fatalities in the air and no fatalities on the ground. All 4 crew members survived the crash. 3 escaped without serious injuries, while 1 aviator was transported to a local hospital with injuries that the Navy simply described as non-life-threatening. Considering the violence of the collision, aviation experts have called the successful ejection nothing short of remarkable. Former F-35 test pilot Billy Flynn told the Associated Press that the fact that all 4 crew members were able to safely eject and avoid landing in the wreckage was truly remarkable. The aircraft involved were the EA-18G Growlers, the Navy's premier electronic warfare platform. While the Growler shares the airframe of the FA-18 Super Hornet, its primary mission isn't dogfighting. Instead, it's designed to jam enemy radar, disrupt communications, and suppress enemy air defenses, making it one of the military's most sophisticated electronic attack aircraft. The 2 jets involved in the collision belong to VAQ-129, the Navy's fleet replacement squadron responsible for training new Growler aircrew. As for what caused the collision, investigators aren't saying yet, probably because they don't know yet. The Navy has opened a formal safety investigation, and officials have released very few details beyond confirming, there was a collision that occurred during the demonstration, which, hello, we all saw it with our own eyes. Aviation experts interviewed after the crash noted that formation flying at air shows leaves almost no margin for error. Even highly experienced military aviators operate only feet apart while traveling hundreds of miles per hour, meaning a split-second judgment can have catastrophic consequences. At this point, however, any determination about the cause would simply be speculation, and investigators have not released any preliminary findings. In the end, this story could have become one of the deadliest airshow disasters of the last few years. Instead, thanks to the professionalism of the 4 Navy aviators, the performance of the ejection system, and the rapid response of emergency crews, every crew member survived. And what I love about this case is that even though it is a big headline when things go wrong, it's such a good story when everyone makes it home alive. Okay, real talk for a second. How do you and your family operate on a daily basis? Are you like me before Skylight, with a pretty planner stuffed with birthday invitations shoved into the wrong month or random thoughts scrawled all over it? And what about the never-ending sticky notes that were supposed to remind me about that thing? But now I can't even find the sticky note. Yeah, that used to be me until I got my very own digital Skylight calendar. And thank goodness, because with 3 daughters, work, school pickup, tutoring, activities, and dental appointments, my brain was basically fried. That's why the Skylight calendar has honestly been such a game changer in our house. It's this beautiful 15-inch digital smart calendar that syncs with Google Calendar, Apple Calendar, Outlook, everything. And it puts the entire family schedule all in one place. So now my kids can actually walk by and see what's happening for the day. My oldest knows when track practice is, my middle child knows when homework is due, and my youngest even checks her routines in the morning. And I love that everyone has their own color assigned to them because it makes it super easy to keep track of who has what going on. But my all-time favorite feature is the chores and routines, because somehow hearing me say, brush your teeth for the 900th time was not effective. But when my girls see it on the Skylight with a checklist and reward system, suddenly everyone's motivated. It just makes the house feel calmer, less mental load, less repeating myself, less chaos. And I love that Skylight Calendar is really designed to bring families together for more time, instead of everyone constantly feeling stressed and disorganized trying to figure out what comes next. Plus, your happiness is really Skylight's happiness. So if in 4 months of you having your Skylight, you're not 100% thrilled with your purchase, you can return it for a full refund, no questions asked. And the reason why Skylight is so good is because families are better when they're working together. And guess what? Right now, Skylight is offering my listeners $30 off their 15-inch calendars by going to myskylight.com/MMP. Visit myskylight.com/MMP today for $30 off your 15-inch calendar. That is myskylight.com/MMP.
If data management is slowing down your business, you need the Intuit ERP. If one entity is here, and one here, and one here, and one here, you need the Intuit ERP. If scaling your business feels like starting over, you need the Intuit ERP. Intuit Enterprise Suite is the AI-native ERP solution that consolidates, migrates, and automates, all in one place. Learn more at intuit.com/ERP.
This next story began as a missing persons case. The missing person was 28-year-old Army veteran Caelick Bradley. Bradley served in the Army from 2017 through 2023 with the B Company 2nd Battalion 158th Aviation Regiment, which is part of the legendary 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, aka the Night Stalkers, and that is out of Joint Base Lewis McChord in the state of Washington. After leaving the military in 2023, Bradley remained in the Tacoma area working as a security guard. But by the summer of 2026, Bradley was ready for a new start. He began planning to return home to Virginia to be closer to family, and he was actually scheduled to leave Washington state on June 10th. But he never made it to Virginia. According to court documents, on June 12th, Bradley's mother contacted Tacoma PD requesting a welfare check after not hearing from her son for several days. Her son planned to drive cross-country to Virginia on June 10th, but Mama Bear hadn't heard from him since June 7th. Friends and family agreed this wasn't like Bradley. But there was something else. Bradley had been in a toxic relationship with a woman who seemed hell-bent on provoking a fight between Bradley and this woman's now fiancé, an Army soldier by the name of Humberto Rodriguez Hernandez. The woman's name was Ady Casado Dominguez. Armed with this information, investigators reached out to Casado and she told them that she last saw Bradley on June 8th. After this, she said, he texted me letting me know he had a flat tire, but after that, I never heard from him again. Well, investigators confirmed with Bradley's friends that he did in fact get a flat tire, but it's what they said next that contradicted what Casado told them. Bradley's friends revealed that Casado was with Bradley the day after his flat tire. Investigators requested phone records for Bradley's phone, and the records revealed that Bradley's phone was located at or near the apartment where Casado lived with her fiancé. Bradley's phone pinged there on June 10th and June 11th, and then the phone was either turned off or it simply died. Detectives also obtained a warrant for Bradley's bank records and discovered someone was using his debit card after he had vanished. One purchase of nearly $287 was made at a Walmart in Lakewood. 2 more transactions were attempted but declined. Altogether, investigators say nearly $750 in purchases were attempted using Bradley's financial accounts after he had already disappeared. So, detectives went searching for surveillance video and they found it at Walmart. According to the probable cause affidavit, the footage showed Humberto Rodriguez Hernandez making the purchases while Casado accompanied him. Armed with this information, detectives arrested Hernandez on identity theft charges. And it was during their questioning when everything changed. According to investigators, Hernandez admitted that Bradley was dead, and he was even willing to take detectives to the body. But he wanted to make clear he had nothing to do with Bradley's death. On June 30th, Hernandez led law enforcement to a gravel turnout on property belonging to Joint Base Lewis McChord. There, investigators discovered human remains wrapped in blankets and secured with ratchet straps, the same method Hernandez allegedly described during his interview. The Pierce County ME later identified the remains as belonging to Caelick Bradley. Investigators say Hernandez then described what Casado Dominguez allegedly told him had happened to Bradley. According to Hernandez, while he was at work, Casado Dominguez confronted Bradley because she believed he had inappropriate photos of her and possibly of her young son stored on his phone. Casado claimed the argument turned physical, Bradley pushed her, and she fired multiple shots at him. Hernandez also reportedly told investigators that when he later returned home from duty at Joint Base Lewis McChord, Bradley's body was on the couch. Now, let me pause because this can get confusing. What I just told you came from Hernandez after his arrest on those identity theft charges. At this point, though, prosecutors have charged both Hernandez and Casado Dominguez with second-degree murder, unlawful disposal of human remains, and multiple counts of second-degree identity theft. Both have pled not guilty, and the allegations remain just that. Allegations that prosecutors will ultimately have to prove in court. But just to bring you full circle here, investigators say the evidence didn't stop with Hernandez's statement. During a search of the apartment, detectives reportedly recovered shell casings, ammunition, a bullet fragment lodged in a wall, a portion of a ratchet strap matching the straps used to secure Bradley's body, cleaning supplies, and a mop and bucket. They also located the truck investigators believe was used to transport Bradley's body. Apparently, the couple borrowed the truck from a coworker and used that truck to transport Bradley's body. Now, one detail from the affidavit that struck me as especially heartbreaking was when prosecutors alleged that when Bradley's body was transported to the dumpster site near Joint Base Lewis McChord, Casado left her 2-year-old son home alone. During both of the defendants' first court appearances, prosecutors expressed concern that the child may have witnessed portions of the crime or its aftermath because Bradley had allegedly been shot inside the apartment and left on the couch before he was removed. As of this recording, both defendants remain jailed on $1 million bail, and prosecutors intend to try them separately. Bradley's official cause of death was still pending at the time of the initial charging documents, though investigators believe he was fatally shot inside the Lakewood apartment. For Bradley's mother, the investigation ended in the worst possible way. After spending weeks hoping her son would be found alive, she instead learned he had been dead the entire time. Speaking publicly after the arrest, his mom simply said she would not give the suspects any more attention. Instead, she wanted people to remember her son. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to remember Caelick Bradley as a son, a friend, an Army veteran, and a former Night Stalker who served his country. He was preparing to drive home and start over, but he never got the chance. Whatever the truth is, I just pray it is revealed one way or another, and I hope justice is properly served. The next story takes us to Wichita, Kansas, where a heartbreaking domestic violence case came one step closer to its conclusion earlier this month. For months, the family of Ivy Unruh has prepared themselves for the possibility of sitting through a murder trial. Instead, they watched the man accused of taking her life stand before a judge and admit what he had done. On July 1st, 29-year-old Joshua Orlando pled guilty to first-degree felony murder and aggravated kidnapping in connection with Ivy's death. She was his estranged wife. Ivy was a Marine veteran who, after serving her country, built a career as a broadcast engineer with PBS Kansas. Friends and coworkers remembered Ivy as intelligent, dependable, and incredibly kind. She loved technology, enjoyed gaming, and was known as someone who could always be counted on when others needed help. She had also reached a point in her life where she was trying to move on. Her marriage to Joshua Orlando was ending, and by all accounts, she was looking ahead to a fresh start. According to court records, Ivy filed for divorce in August of 2025 after what investigators later described as an abusive relationship. Friends told detectives that Ivy had confided in them about physical and emotional abuse during her marriage, and by the spring of 2026, the couple was living separately and their divorce was almost final. There was just one final piece of unfinished business. Ivy wanted her Nintendo Switch back, and so they remained the issue of exchanging the last of their personal belongings. The thing was, though, that Ivy made it clear she didn't want to see Orlando ever again. But on the morning of April 17th, 2026, guess who showed up at Ivy's new place with the Nintendo Switch in a bag, along with other miscellaneous items? You guessed it, Joshua Orlando. According to the probable cause affidavit, Orlando told investigators that when Ivy saw him, she became upset, and he claimed she grabbed the bag containing the Nintendo Switch and struck him in the face with it. Orlando then admitted that he pulled out a handgun and shot Ivy. Moments later, he called 911. During that call, he calmly told the dispatcher that he and his wife had gotten into an argument before saying, quote, "I shot her," end quote. When Wichita police officers arrived, they found Ivy suffering from a devastating gunshot wound, but she was still alive. She was rushed to a nearby hospital where doctors fought to save her life over the next 3 days. Family members held on to every hope that somehow Ivy would survive. But sadly, on April 20th, she died from her injuries. She was only 25 years old. Initially, because Ivy was still alive, prosecutors charged Orlando with aggravated battery. But after she died, those charges were upgraded to first-degree murder. As investigators continued building their case, prosecutors also filed a charge of aggravated kidnapping, alleging Orlando unlawfully restrained Ivy during the incident. While prosecutors have not publicly detailed every fact supporting that charge, Orlando admitted his guilt to both offenses as part of the negotiated plea agreement. In exchange for the negotiated plea, prosecutors amended the original charge of premeditated first-degree murder to felony murder, while still ensuring Orlando faces an extraordinarily lengthy prison sentence. Under Kansas law, the plea agreement means that Orlando must serve at least 38 years before he is eligible for parole. His sentencing is scheduled for August 28th, 2026. And the crazy thing is, I saw a picture of this guy's mugshot, and he has like this stupid smirk on his face, which is really disturbing. Well, listen, Ivy's story didn't end at her death. After she passed away, Ivy donated her organs, giving the gift of life to 6 different people. Even after enduring unimaginable tragedy, her family has continued speaking publicly about domestic violence and encouraging others to recognize warning signs before relationships turn deadly. Sadly, Ivy's case reflects something we've discussed on this podcast far too many times, and that's this. Leaving an abusive relationship is often the most dangerous moment for a victim.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
We are now heading to Baldwin County, Alabama, where a quiet neighborhood became the scene of unimaginable violence on the night of July 5th. Authorities say what began as an ordinary family disagreement ended with a mother dead, a father fighting for his life, and the couple's 17-year-old son charged with murder. The victims were 37-year-old Samantha Baker and her husband, 46-year-old Lance Baker, a longtime member of the U.S. Army Reserve. According to family and social media posts, the couple met while serving in the military and had built a life together in Daphne, Alabama, where they were raising their 2 sons. Samantha worked as a realtor while Lance served as a battalion commander with the Army Reserve's 1184th Deployment Distribution Support Battalion, a position that he got after serving in the military for 26 years. Friends described the couple as active in their church, devoted parents, and a family that, from the outside, appeared happy. Everything, though, changed just before 9 p.m. on July 5th. According to the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office, the Bakers got into an argument with their 17-year-old son over what investigators described only as disciplinary actions. Authorities have not elaborated on exactly what discipline was being imposed, but investigators say the confrontation escalated dramatically inside the family's home. At some point during the argument, the teenager allegedly armed himself with a kitchen knife and began attacking both of his parents. Investigators believe the attack didn't remain inside the home for long, though. According to deputies, both Samantha and Lance attempted to flee, but the teenager allegedly chased them all the way outside. The crime scene ultimately stretched across half a city block and into multiple neighboring yards, illustrating just how desperately the couple fought to escape. One of the most haunting parts of this story comes from a next-door neighbor named Sean, whose home security camera captured portions of the attack, both video and audio. Now, Sean later told reporters that she reviewed the footage after learning about what had happened, and what she heard was devastating. According to Sean, Lance Baker could be heard running from house to house, desperately pounding on neighbors' doors while crying out, quote, "Please help me. I don't want to die," end quote. Sean said that listening to those recordings was one of the most traumatic experiences of her life. When deputies arrived, they found Samantha Baker outside the family's home, suffering from multiple stab wounds. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Lance Baker was found outside a neighboring residence, also suffering from multiple stab wounds. He was airlifted to a nearby hospital in critical condition. As of the latest reporting, he remains hospitalized but is expected to survive his injuries. According to investigators, after the attack, the teenager went back inside the family home, locked himself inside, and then called 911 himself. Deputies arrested him at the scene without incident. He has since been charged as an adult with murder in Samantha's death and attempted murder for the attack on his father. During his initial court appearance, a judge set his bond at $1 million. As investigators worked to piece together what exactly happened inside that home, another possible detail began to emerge. The neighbor, Sean, told reporters that she had overheard a loud argument between Samantha and her son several hours before the stabbing. Now, the New York Post reported that it was roughly at 2:30 p.m., this argument, and the neighbor's surveillance camera captured the audio from the argument that allegedly took place on the Baker family front porch. Sean, the neighbor, believed that the disagreement centered on one of Samantha's Facebook posts, where she occasionally shared parenting memes and comments about the misery of raising teenagers. It should be noted that the Bakers had a shared married Facebook page. Anyway, during that argument at about 2:30 p.m., according to the neighbor, the teenager appeared upset by a comment on a Facebook post and insisted that they were directed at him. Samantha, the mom, said it was not directed at him. She then told him to go do his chore, which was to mow the lawn. I do want to pause here and point out that law enforcement has never confirmed arguments over Facebook or chores as motive for this heinous crime. And the sheriff's office has continued to say only that the violence stemmed from a dispute over parental discipline, and investigators have not publicly announced what ultimately triggered the attack. Now, I do want to point out that while I have not personally scrolled through Samantha's social media accounts, I did find an article in the New York Post where some of her posts gushing about her family appeared in this article. Last year, in September of 2025, Samantha, the mom, posted a baby picture and then a current picture of her 17-year-old son. She was simply wishing him a happy birthday, noting how fast time has flown, and commenting, quote, "You are an amazing person, and yet at the same time, you make my blood boil," end quote. She finished the post with a comment about donuts and said, "I love you." In one post, she wrote words that are slightly ominous when read now. Quote, "Welcome to the Baker house. We laugh, then holler, then act like nothing happened until it's time to holler and laugh again. It's a shit show over here. Enter at your own risk," end quote. Another post over a year prior to the murder read, quote, "Raising a teenage boy, 0 out of 10, do not recommend," end quote. Captain Justice Correa of the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office described the tragedy as an isolated domestic incident that spiraled completely out of control. As this case moves through the criminal justice system, many questions remain unanswered. Investigators have not discussed whether the teenager had a documented history of violence, whether there were prior law enforcement calls to the house, or whether mental health played any role in the attacks. Those are questions that may eventually be answered through court proceedings. For now, what we do know is heartbreaking enough. A respected Army Reserve commander remains hospitalized after desperately running through his neighborhood, begging his neighbors to save his life. His wife, Samantha, never made it out alive, and the couple's oldest son now faces the possibility of spending the rest of his natural life behind bars. As a side note, the couple's youngest son was not at home during the attack.
Amazon Health AI presents Painful Thoughts. Why did I search the internet for answers to my cold sore problem? Now I'm stuck down a rabbit hole filled with images of alarmingly graphic sores in various stages of ooze. I can clear my search history, but I can never unsee that.
Don't go down the rabbit hole. Amazon Health AI gets you the right care, fast. Healthcare just got less painful.
My last story today is out of Houston, Texas, and it is one that has sparked national debate because it began with a childhood prank that, while certainly is annoying, it's one that many people remember from growing up. And it's called Ding Dong Ditch. Do you remember that one? It's a dumb game where kids ring a stranger's doorbell, run away really fast before anyone answers, and usually they just laugh and laugh and laugh about it when the homeowner opens the door and sees no one. It's immature, and most parents would probably be embarrassed if they found out their child was doing it. But on the night of August 30th, 2025, prosecutors say that what should have ended with nothing more than a frustrated homeowner, instead, it ended with an 11-year-old boy being shot in the back and killed. Now, nearly a year after this incident, the man accused of pulling the trigger, 43-year-old Gonzalo Leon Jr., is facing a charge of capital murder. The victim was Julian Guzman, an 11-year-old who was spending the evening at a relative's birthday party in East Houston. According to the probable cause affidavit, Julian, his cousin, and several other children eventually grew bored with the party, and they decided to wander through the neighborhood playing Ding Dong Ditch. Court records indicate the children rang doorbells at several homes before eventually making their way to Leon's house on Mimbro Street. Witnesses later told investigators that the boys knocked on Leon's door multiple times over the course of approximately 15 minutes, each time running away before anyone answered. Prosecutors say there was no property damage, no attempted break-in, and no confrontation between the children and the homeowner during those earlier encounters. But everything changed when the children returned one final time. This time, Julian and his cousin again approached the front door, rang the doorbell, and immediately turned to run. But this time, prosecutors allege that Leon wasn't simply waiting inside the house to answer the door. Instead, court records indicate he had armed himself with a handgun and was waiting outside in the darkness. Julian's cousin later told detectives that he saw Leon, dressed in dark clothing, emerge from near the side of the house through the gate. According to the affidavit, Leon fired an initial shot toward the ground before raising the weapon and firing again in the direction of the fleeing children. That second bullet struck Julian in the back as he ran away from the home. Harris County DA Sean Tier later emphasized that the evidence showed that Julian had already left the property and posed no immediate threat when he was shot. The scene that followed was heartbreaking. The children immediately began screaming for help. According to witness statements summarized in court records, Julian collapsed and told those around him that he couldn't feel his legs. Adults from the nearby birthday party rushed to his side, and rather than waiting for an ambulance, they put him into a car and drove him to a nearby fire station where emergency personnel were waiting. From there, Julian was transported to the hospital where surgeons attempted to save his life. Despite those efforts, though, he died the following day from his injuries. Julian was later described by his family as a joyful little boy who loved soccer, video games, grilling with his family, and making people laugh. As detectives worked through the evidence, they focused on whether Leon could legitimately claim he acted in self-defense under Texas law. And you might recall that Texas has something called the Castle Doctrine. It's Texas, y'all. I mean, it's where most people say you can shoot anyone on your property and it's fair game. I mean, that's not accurate, but that's what many people say. And honestly, that's what many people believe. Well, in evaluating the evidence at hand, investigators quickly concluded the facts did not support a self-defense theory. Houston Police Sergeant Michael Cass publicly stated that Julian was running away when he was shot, and that there was no evidence the child displayed a weapon or attempted to enter Leon's house. DA Sean Tier was even more direct, saying, quote, "This was someone brutally murdering an 11-year-old simply because they were mad," end quote. DA Tier also reminded the public that while Texas law provides significant protections for homeowners under the Castle Doctrine. Those protections do not authorize shooting an unarmed child who is retreating down a public street after ringing a doorbell. Investigators also executed a search warrant at Leon's residence, and inside they recovered more than 20 firearms, including multiple AR-style rifles, shotguns, and handguns. Authorities had never suggested that those additional firearms were used during the shooting, but the discovery became part of the probable cause presented to the court. Now, I do want to state that I did watch a video of when the police arrived at Leon's house, and he does emerge with his hands up, and behind him, a woman holding a baby also comes out. And so I'll talk about that in a little bit. Leon initially declined to answer investigators' questions and requested an attorney. 2 days after the shooting, after homicide detectives completed additional witness interviews and gathered more evidence, Leon was formally arrested and charged with murder. For several months, the case proceeded as a murder prosecution. But then something happened in April of 2026. In April of 2026, a Harris County grand jury returned a much more serious indictment. Prosecutors upgraded the case to capital murder, alleging that because Julian was under the age of 15, the homicide qualified under Texas's capital murder statute. That decision has significantly raised the stakes for Leon. However, there has been some confusion that I do want to point out about what punishment he actually faces. Although capital murder often brings the possibility of the death penalty, local Houston reporting has explained that because this capital murder allegation is based solely on the victim's age, the practical sentence, if convicted, would be life imprisonment without the possibility of parole rather than a death sentence. Now, following the indictment, Leon's bond was increased to $1.5 million, where it remains till this day. A look at the clerk's file indicates a trial set to begin in November of 2026. There are still questions that a jury will ultimately have to answer, and Gonzalo Leon Jr. remains presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty in court. But the facts alleged by prosecutors have already struck a nerve with parents across the country. Most people would agree that 11-year-olds shouldn't be running through neighborhoods ringing strangers' doorbells late at night. At the same time, almost no one expects this childish behavior to end with a bullet fired into a child's back. That's why this case has drawn so much national attention. It isn't simply about a homicide. It's about where society draws the line between protecting your home and using deadly force. Later this year, a Harris County jury will begin answering that question. So, of course, I know you're wondering, Margot, what's the military connection here? Well, the Army has confirmed that Leon Jr. is an Army veteran. He served as an infantryman from 2013 through 2016. During his stint, he deployed to Afghanistan from late 2014 through the spring of 2015. After leaving active duty, he served in the Texas Army National Guard until May of 2021. As it relates to what he was doing with his life at the time of the shooting, his attorney told the judge he was enrolled as a student at San Jacinto College's Maritime campus. He worked as a restaurant manager, and he was the father of a 2-year-old daughter. True Crime Army, thank you so much for joining me this week for a headline segment. I hope that you all feel more informed. There are so many more cases to cover, but some of the headline cases are due for a full-blown episode, as at least one case, actually two, have been fully litigated and finally have a result. All right, so I will bring you those very, very soon. My sources for today's episode include various press releases and articles found in ABC News, AP News, Houston Chronicle, Fox 26 Houston, People Magazine, Cairo 7, New York Post, Law and Crime Network, and K Houston 11 News. Military Murder is a Mama Margot production. The music was created by Ty-Ops. Until next time, remember, you never really know what someone is capable of, so remain vigilant always. You have a fabulous week, and I'll keep digging to bring you another military murder story next time.
working on our podcast. I don't want to.
A burst pipe. A dead water heater. The AC calling it quits. Who do you call? HomeServe is an easy way to handle unexpected home repairs, with plans covering stuff basic homeowners insurance usually won't. Instead of scrambling for a contractor, you make one call to get the repair process started. Join the millions of customers who trust HomeServe right now. Go to homeserve.com/podcast for 50% less your first year. That's homeserve.com/podcast. Savings compared to renewal price, void in Florida.
Hi, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Are you looking for a beach read this summer? May I suggest your big wireless bill? It's got suspense, mystery, a slightly flat emotional arc, and a shocking twist where you realize you've been overpaying the entire time. Fortunately, though, Mint's story is better. Every plan, $15 a month, even unlimited. That's it. Happy ending. Zero tears.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.